Hey guys, it's Kevin again from another movie for you guys. We're reviewing this a movie that I've wanted to see for a very long time now, and that is A24's latest film, First Reformed. And what this film is essentially about is we center on the character of Reverend Toller, and he, like I said, is one of the main sort of reverends in the aforementioned First Reformed, and he ends up meeting up with Amanda Seyfried's character and her boyfriend, who is actually an environmentalist, and when he starts to think very differently than Toller does, this starts to kind of make Toller question some of his beliefs as a religious leader, and really makes him start to wonder if he really does, believe it anymore, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, First Reform in general, I was very interested in this movie. A24 has been on a consistent high right now, minus some of their DirecTV films. They have just really been impressing me, especially after last year, all the Oscar wins and things like that, and this seemed like this was going to be another fantastic film for them, and that's absolutely the case. First Reformed is easily one of the best films I've seen so far this year. This is a very well done film overall about religion, but also about the way we think and things like that. And we're just getting into right now, starting off with the cast. And going in this film, I think that definitely is one of the biggest draws for sure. I think, honestly, everyone really does a great job, but easily the standout of this movie is Ethan Hawke as Reverend Toller, who is just fantastic as this character. I mean, this is such a complex character. He's someone who, he is very religious, but he uses this as a way to cope with the death of his son. His son was actually killed in the Iraqian war, and he very much does regret that because he encouraged his son to enlist, and he kind of feels like he was kind of the main cause of that. But at the same time, he also, like I said, is really starting to shift his way of thinking, especially when he runs into, Amanda Seyfried's husband here. His way of thinking is much different, and I really love seeing the, really just the arc that he does undergo. I don't want to get into it too much, but it really does shape his way of thinking for sure, and I think he did an incredible job. It's a lot of challenging material. It's a lot to latch onto as a character, but I think he was definitely up for the task, and this is easily one of his best performances yet for sure. He was fantastic here. And then Amanda Seyfried as Mary, this definitely makes up for some of the films she's been doing. I know she's been in a lot of films this year that have been pretty lackluster, and this, like I said, definitely makes up for that. This is honestly some of her best work yet, I think I've seen from her. She plays this character, Mary, who, again, I can't get into too much of her character, but she is expecting a child, and her husband kind of feels differently about it, and her and the Reverend kind of confide in each other, and I really loved their relationship. She is really great here. Not on the same level as Hawke, obviously, but it definitely does show that she is very much a capable actress, and I'm hoping she makes more films like this, and not stuff like Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, because this definitely bodes much better for her as an actress for sure. And then the rest of the cast I thought also was really great. Cedric Kyles, yes, this is Cedric the Entertainer, was great in this movie. I wasn't really expecting for him to do what he does, but he has a very serious role, and I really love what he did here. I thought he was really great here as well. Michael Gaston, fellow Leftovers vet, he shows up, and he's really great. And then Victoria Hill as one of Toller's ex-lovers, Esther, she was really great. And then finally, Philip Ettinger as Michael, who is Mary's husband. Again, very interesting role. He has one of the best scenes in the movie for sure. His way of thinking is very radically different from Toller, and it's easily one of the most fascinating things about this movie. And I think, honestly, like I said, everyone did a great job here. But now let's get to the directing and the writing, because, again, going in this film, I think that's something that most people are very much going to be looking forward to. It is Paul Schrader. This is the guy who gave us, screenplays like Raging Bull and Last Temptation of Christ, so he definitely knows what he's doing here, and he goes all out in terms of the directing. This is a very dark film. Even though this is a religious film, this ain't no Pure Flix movie. I mean, this film is really fucking dark, and it gets into some stuff that I really was not expecting it to go, and I honestly really do applaud him for that. This, it's a very sort of, different tone. It starts off and you think it's going to be very pro-religion, but it's not pro-religion nor is it anti-religion. It really is kind of looking at things from both sides of the coin, and I very much love that. The tone, like I said, it's one of those films where it's more suspenseful as it goes on, and I think that was very well realized here. There were so many scenes in this movie where I thought, holy shit, something's going to happen here, and then something doesn't happen. And I think that just goes to show how good he was at, like I said, kind of peppering the suspense throughout the film, and I think he did a great job with that here. The writing is definitely really great. Again, not at all as I was expecting, but what I really love about this movie is kind of what it has to say about the whole science versus religion debate, because that is definitely a big part of this film. I mean, Amanda Seyfried's husband, Michael, he is very much an environmentalist, and he kind of feels like, a lot of the religious stuff is kind of killing the planet, and it's a very interesting debate. There's a great scene that he has with Hawke very early on in the movie where he talks about his worries about the world, and it never came off as preachy to me. It came off as this is what he believes. This is the cause that he's fighting for, and I really love getting into that whole story because you can really see, like I said, how this starts to change Toller's way of thinking. Everything that he's known, he kind of starts to pass off as maybe that's not the case, or maybe it is, but there's other issues here that we're just not really addressing, and that something needs to be done. And I really love getting into that. I thought that was a very good story overall, but also the arc that he goes through. Like I said, he has a lot of regrets, especially for his son, who was in the war, and he feels like he was very responsible for that. And you can tell that he's doing his best to try to move on from his past, but it keeps creeping in, whether it's through flashbacks or in the form of Esther, this girl that I've got the sense that he had an affair with. The movie never really says it to you, but I got the sense that, yes, he had an affair with her, and things really didn't go well between the two, and basically, he's trying to get rid of her, but she's also very concerned for his health because he actually is in a very serious mental condition, a very serious health condition in this movie, and I thought that was a very good story overall. There's just a lot of great stuff when it comes to the writing that definitely made me think a lot, and I thought was a very interesting debate of the whole, like I said, science versus religion thing, and you kind of start to realize that, hey, maybe he's onto something here. Maybe Michael actually did have a point. Maybe what he was saying was actually true. I mean, one of the earliest scenes in the film is him talking about how he wants Mary to kill their child, and that he doesn't want a child to grow up in this world anymore, and you kind of start to realize why, and I thought all that was very well handled. And like I said, I don't want to get into where this ends up going, but it's one of those films where I can't really say too much without spoilers, because something does happen very early on in this film that very much affects the rest of the movie overall, and I definitely do want to talk about that a little bit later on, but the cinematography here is fantastic. I really did love it. Yes, it is presented in the same type of aspect ratio that A Ghost Story was done in, and while that film gave it a sense of intimacy and made you feel like you were watching it like a real old home video, this one has a more it does have that intimate feel, but more in the sense where it feels much more psychological, and it feels very purposeful in that sense, in the way it was done, and I thought that it was very well handled in that sense, and I really did love the cinematography. There's a lot of beautiful shots in this film. One shot that is among some of the best of the year, but that does lead me to one of my only flaws, which isn't really a flaw, but there is stuff that happened in this film, and I really didn't know what it all meant. And again, that could just be my lack of stupidity, but it is a film that I very much do want to see again. Also, there is a character in this movie where it's very obvious what the social commentary is, and this character comes in really just kind of to spell that out for you, and I just didn't really see the point of him. I think they honestly could have done without him in this film. He's good in the movie for sure, this character, but I just didn't see the need for him to be here. It felt like the film, for most of it, was treating you in a smart manner, but at this point it was kind of, spelling it out for you, and it was one of those things where it's like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's obvious what this film is doing, and I don't need you to spell it out for me constantly, and it just didn't really work out for me in the way I wanted to. Also, the editing. The film is very slow-paced, and it definitely does take a while to get going, but once it eventually chugs along, holy shit, does things escalate quickly. I mean, I don't want to talk about where the ending of this movie really does end up going, but let's just say it does not at all go the way that you expect it to. I was very surprised with the direction it took towards the end, and it's definitely one of the most left turns I've seen a movie in quite a while, and not in a way where it was jarring and it didn't make sense. Like, it made sense why they went in that direction, but it was a film that was so calm and was very sort of slow paced that I really did not expect it to go there, and once it did, I was very surprised. Again, yes, there's a lot of suspense here, but not in the way that I expected it to, and I thought the ending was honestly really bold and very risky for a film like this. It likely will piss off a lot of people, particularly if you're very religious. I think it'll definitely piss you off. But if you're not and you can just enjoy it as a film and you really understand the context of it all, I think it really does make a lot of sense where they're trying to go with it, and I was very impressed by it overall. But now I do want to get a little bit more into spoilers, because again, this is a movie that I really can't say too much about without delving into spoilers. So if you guys haven't seen First Reformed, do not watch the rest of this review. I really do want to talk about it. Now, I will tell you guys right off the bat, there's not going to be an analysis. I know that there definitely is some sort of deep meaning to this film, but there's a lot of things that happen that I just didn't fully grasp, and I really want to talk more about in more detail at another time. But I do want to talk about the main thing going on, where very early on it's established that not only does Michael want to kill himself, but he actually does go through with it. And not only that, but he was willing to basically be the savior of all this. Like, he knew the cause of what was going on, and he wanted to put a stop to it. And you can see that this really shapes Toller's way of thinking. This is especially shown when he finds Michael's dead body in the snow. You know, you would think that he passes this off as, oh, this is just a non-believer. And a lot of members of the church very much think that, but he doesn't really see it that way. He sees it as, this guy was onto something, and this guy, you know, maybe I need to basically pick up where he left off. I need to finish what he started, and I really loved where it ended up going, because, look, he knows he's going to die. Toller knows that he has cancer. Everyone's concerned about him. He doesn't seem to care very much, and he feels that his last act needs to be, you know, saving everyone. And if that means blowing up the church, then by any means. However, the one thing keeping him from doing that is Mary. Mary in the film was a very interesting role, because you could see that there definitely was a lot of sort of sexual tension between them, but I didn't expect them to go there. I did not expect the movie to end with her stopping him. I thought for sure he was going to blow up that church and no one was going to change his perspective, but the second he saw Mary, that was the one life that he didn't want to kill. You know, she's already been through so much. He didn't want to, you know, cause more stress on her, and you see at the end of the movie that she basically is the person that saves him, and then it cuts to black, and we don't know exactly what happened. I mean, he still wrapped himself in barbed wire, so he could very well die at any moment, and we just don't know, but I thought it was a very bold ending overall. I really did love where they went with it. In regards to the character that I found a bit sort of, like I said, unnecessary, that's Michael Gaston's character. His role in the film, I thought he was good, but I felt like he was only here just to spell out the idea that, oh, we don't want this whole political agenda in religion, and that a lot of churches are starting to become political, and they're not really focusing on, you know, they're not really sticking to, the source material and all the stuff that the Bible really doesn't have, but they're starting to deviate from it, and he really isn't for that. You know, he wants them to stick to the more sort of, you know, regular type views, and Toller, you can see he doesn't really want that. He feels like that is taking a step back, and he feels like this is, you know, they're just ignoring the issues of what's actually going on. And again, I thought this was something that didn't really need to be spelled out. It was pretty obvious that Cedric Kyle's character, he very much felt that same way, and I just didn't really see the point for Michael Gaston to be there. He just wasn't really that important of a character. But other than that, I really did love this film. There's a lot of things, like I said, I didn't understand overall, and it's definitely a film that I really do want to give a rewatch to very soon. Overall, guys, First Reformed is a fantastic movie. It's definitely not what I expected it to be, for sure. It's far darker, it's much more depressing, and like I said, this is not your typical religious film. In many ways, I think people are going to compare this film to, like, Last Temptation of Christ, because it really does take a more flawed approach to religion, and I think they did a really great job of it overall. Ethan Hawke, I think, alone is enough for reason to check this out, and it's definitely going to be a film that gets a lot of people talking. I can definitely see some people hating this movie, but I can also see this people absolutely adoring this movie. Like I said, I am on the side that absolutely adores it. I think it is a very well done film overall. It's very dark, and like I said, it's kind of unapologetic in its approach, but it never feels preachy. It never feels like the film is spelling things out for you, minus that one character that just didn't work for me. Other than that, guys, I pretty much love this film. It's a film that after I saw it, I really wanted to see it again. I definitely plan to see it again at some point because I do want to give a more in-depth review of this at some point. But this is definitely one of my favorite films of the year, and I'm definitely going to give First Reformed overall an A. So over, guys, in my review of First Reformed. Let me know what you guys thought of this overall. Love your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.